given the problems that we have, obviously, whether it's me or Tate or other people, will kind of come in and say, hey, this is what you need to do as a guy. This is how the modern day marketplace is now when it comes to dating. What's your approach to kind of combating this problem from a female perspective?
First, you have to understand the origin of feminism, right? You have to understand that this was not a culture and an ideology that came because they wanted women to have equal rights with men, okay? This was a CIA-sponsored PSYOP. Gloria Steinem was sponsored by the CIA, okay? These protests were sponsored by men in government. A lot of them homosexual, actually. And the reason for that was simply because they wanted to tax, it was actually twofold, I would say. They wanted to tax household income both ways. And also they wanted women to, instead of focusing on their kids, which comes natural to women, right, to be the quote unquote, like I say, CEO of the household, they wanted to remove that and to have the children given to the government for 6 hours a day. Beyond 6 hours a day, 6 hours a day, plus whatever sports activities, which gives the government full control over the minds of the children. This came straight from the Pale of Settlement. After they assassinated the Tsar, you had these Jewish women like Emma Goldman, who came over to America. Emma Goldman was the mentor to what's her face from Planned Parenthood. I'm blanking on her name for a moment. I'm going to say Margaret Sanger. That was her mentor. Mm-hmm. And so this was, in fact, a very radical communist movement that came to America and sought to overthrow families, family institutions, strong men, feminine women, stands in the way of government and absolute control.
In your book, Make 'Em a Sandwich, what are some of the things that you tell the women? Because I'm assuming it's a book that's going to be centered around how women can kind of get in a marketplace, find a long-term partner, get married. What are some of the strategies that you tell women to implement to find a partner? You don't have to give it all away.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I don't even try in my book to sell them a strategy or a technique. I just tell the truth. So here's the history of feminism. Here's what we were told in school. Here's actually how it went down, right? Knowledge is power. I give them the actual statistics, the fact that what was sold to you was you were going to be just like a man and you were going to be happier. Women are actually more miserable than they've ever been. If you go back and you ask most women about their grandmothers, they remember grandma being happy, right? So what they actually sold to you, now you've achieved this equality, quote unquote equality, and women have never been more miserable. And women are popping more pills than they were popping and finding it harder to find a partner and wondering why. Well, it's because you attacked natural masculinity. You told men that they shouldn't be allowed to lead. Women have to lead. And actually, you didn't want that, right? You were convinced psychologically in a classroom, as I was back when I wanted to be a feminist, or I thought feminism was cool. And you should know that. And I think that that's how you change things without trying to say, here's a strategy and here's how we're going to move forward. Let people know true knowledge, let people know true history. And I think the rest of the stuff happens naturally.
I think you've been able to do what every woman dreams of: have a family, have children, have your dream man, but simultaneously being able to also, run a business and do what you want to do. And I noticed when you were debating on Jubilee, some of them tried to say, oh, well, you're a hypocrite. You're over here talking about feminism being bad, blah, 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 blah. But, you obviously have a lot of things set up where you maximize your ability to be with your family, right? You do your show, get out of there, spend time with your family. What would you say to the people that sit there and try to call you a hypocrite because, you're successful in your own right, but you've been able to also balance a family, which many women can't do. They want to do it, but they can't do it. What would your response be to those critics?
First and foremost, do not allow people to rule you by exceptions. What I mean by that is, it is such a mistake to look at my life and to say, Candace did this, and so therefore I can do this. My life is actually exceptional, right? We are sitting in my house. I do things on my own terms. I wake up in the morning. I get to homeschool my kids, right? I'm homeschooling my children for hours. That's now very important to me. I get to do a podcast from home, and I am actually doing something that I enjoy, right? What is the number one thing? If you find any woman that makes it and she's successful, what is she doing? She's tapping into her femininity, communication. Women communicate more than men. I have a whole chapter on this. If you have a daughter and a son, you know this. Girls start speaking faster, and we will speak more words from men for the rest of our lives. And when you actually look, and I ask people in this chapter, if I ask you the question right now, who is the most successful man in the world? Just give me your answer. If you have to name a couple of them.
I was going to say like From a financial perspective?
Just, yeah, sure, full stop. If I
I
said
mean-
who's the most successful man in the world,
I
who
mean,
would
you
you
could
say?
say like the richest guy in the world, who would be Elon, even though it pains me to say that. But
Okay, yeah, no, but that's
we're
the
gonna
right.
go
You
off-
would say Elon, or you would say
something based on meritocracy, finances, and
you would
status.
say Jeff Bezos. Everyone
Precisely.
would say the same answers, right? If I ask you who is the most successful woman in the world, what would you say?
That's where it gets yeah.
Right.
That's I see
But
what you're saying.
Like, what is it? Like off the top of your mind, like what are the names that come to your mind?
Yeah, it's an ambiguous. Like you're like, okay, well, are we going to go off career? Are we going to go off where?
But
Versus
most
a man,
people
it's
would
like,
say like Taylor Swift
Yeah.
or Oprah.
Mm-hmm.
These women are
Beyonce.
nowhere near the richest women in the world. Nobody knows the name of the richest woman in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so I go about through this in my chapter. Yeah, you'd say Beyonce. I'm like, these are the names that you would say off the top of your head if I asked you who's the most successful. Nobody knows. Everybody knows the names of the most the richest men in the world, and yet nobody knows the names of the richest women in the world.
Good
right?
point.
Nobody knows the names of them. And the answer is a Russian woman. And I talk about this in my book. I'm like, nobody knows her name. And the women that you do name actually all tapped into their femininity. Taylor Swift was writing songs about relationships.
Mm-hmm.
She was writing songs about looking for love.
Mm-hmm.
And women flocked to this. Oprah was communicating to the housewife, right? She was speaking about issues. They're tapping in actually to the one thing that actually you think they're standing against. Oh, they're the ultimate feminists. No, they tap into their femininity and found success, actually. And women do not, when we think about success, we don't measure it in terms of finances. That's why these women, we think, are the most quote unquote successful women in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas men naturally think finances. Oh, it's Jeff Bezos, it's Elon Musk. So I do a chapter and I speak about that in my book about who the richest woman in the world is. And then the next 10 women who are the richest in the world are all rich because of who they divorced.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I have to say, right, I like Candace. I think I have said this on this platform many times already. I think that she is a very smart lady or woman, and she has done fantastic things for herself. That is true. I just want to say that the whole feminism movement, in my own opinion, was a great thing. Women needed to step up for themselves. Women needed to be themselves and choose the things they want to do. Women needed to empower themselves, and we need women in the workforce. In most countries, women make up the majority of the population. In my own country, I think there are about 51% of the population are women. So we cannot leave all these women out of the workforce. We must create a society where women can participate in nation building. So I think that the whole concept of feminism was a great idea. We all must remember that feminism was just a concept, was just an idea, was just an ideology. And like with any ideology, it could be abused, it could be misused by people with ulterior motives. Now, what Candice is saying is right. She is correct. People came in with all kinds of sinister intention and they just ruined the whole movement. But I believe that that wasn't the entire purpose of the movement. It's the same thing I hear many people say about DEI. That DEI is a racist idea, that DEI shouldn't be implemented, or DEI is giving jobs to unqualified people. But that's not the reason behind DEI. That's not the main rationale behind the DEI idea. The DEI idea was to make sure that people who are underrepresented get the opportunities that they deserve. Now, if in a company we have 10 people, maybe we should reserve 5 places or 4 places or 3 places for people of color. But that does not mean that any jack from across the street can just walk in and occupy those positions. No, those positions will go to people of color who are qualified. But Republicans or conservatives will not explain it this way. They will just muddy the water. And it's almost the same thing that I see Candace Owens doing here. Just mixing up everything, just trying to confuse the whole thing. Republicans love this approach. They will not separate it. They will not try to bring out the reasoning behind it. As they are not for it, all what they do is just destroy everything. It's like Matt Walls will talk about trans girls in women's sport, or trans and women in girls sport, and how the trans agenda is ruined women's sport. But if you ask him, how many percent of trans people are in women's sport? You will see just a little percent. What about trans men in men's sport? Why is nobody talking about that? What about women who identify as men and want to participate in men's sport? Will there be a problem with that? Well, no one is talking about that, isn't it? That is what conservatives like to do. Now let's come back to this whole feminism movement. It was to make sure that women have equal rights in the workplace. It was to empower women to speak out when they are being abused or taken advantage of. It was to educate women for them to understand that they too have rights in society, and they should not let their husbands or their brothers or their fathers or their mothers take them for granted. That if anyone was taking you for granted, or if anyone was trying to marginalize you, you should speak up. It was a movement that was meant to protect women and girls. Maybe it did not achieve every single thing it was supposed to achieve. Or maybe people came in and they derailed the whole movement. But to say that the entire movement was a terrible idea, in my own opinion, it is not. So let me say this one more time. I believe that feminism was a great idea. The whole idea of women empowerment was an excellent thing. And this has given a lot of women the voice to stand out and make their claims. It has given a lot of women the voice to choose or to decide if they will stay in a relationship or not. It has enabled women to know that they too can stand on their own 2 feet, and they too can decide what is best for them. Not other people doing it for them, but they themselves can decide what is best for them. This is wonderful, and I am all in for it. I support women. I support women's rights. I support independent women. I have sisters who are independent ladies. They are fantastic ladies. They know their rights. They know their duty. They know their obligation. They respect their husbands. And when things are not going the right way in their houses, they speak up. They tell their husband, no, I think we should do it this way. I think this way is going to be better than this other way. And most of the times, it works exactly as they have suggested. They don't always stick on a particular issue, but when they do, it is always for the right reasons. So I support women empowerment, I support feminism, and I think it was a great idea. But anyway, you can share your own thoughts and opinions with us in the comment section below. What do you think? Do you think that the whole feminism movement was a smokescreen for something more sinister? What do you think?